keep an eye out for that later. Okay, so it is 2:45. I want to turn it over to Jereme Bivins, who is the managing director at Good Dog Strategies. Jereme has spent the last decade as an organizer, fundraiser, strategist, and campaigner for candidates and causes. As Good Dog Strategies founder and managing director, Jereme brings 15 years of experience in communications and social impact to nonprofit, foundation, political, and social enterprise clients interested in leveraging digital communications for impact. So Jereme, thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I will start sharing my screen now. Hopefully my computer gets Zoom fatigue, so I'm borrowing my wife's. Okay. All right, everybody see the screen?
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna go off the screen so you can just focus on the slides. Great, thank you everybody for joining. As Candace mentioned, my name is Jereme. I'm managing director of Good Dog Strategies. We help good people, good organizations, and great causes be smart about their communications. I've been a digital strategist for nearly 15 years. I'm not going to go quite over that 15-year mark and betray my age. Before launching Good Dog in 2019, I was also a program officer at the Rockefeller Foundation, working on their data and technology portfolio, which is to say that I spend a ton of time thinking about technology and how we use it to reach people and how we use it to make our lives better. So Good Dog is a digital comms firm for nonprofits and foundations. We help with various types of projects, digital strategy audits, email marketing, social and paid media, and other digital comms related projects. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today are the techniques, tools, and approaches that we use to manage our work as well as client projects. So if you want to learn more, you can visit our website, gooddogstrategies.com, or email me at the address I'll share at the end. A couple of housekeeping notes. Since we don't have a ton of time, I apologize if I talk a bit quickly. I promise that I'll share my slides as well as some resource links at the end. So don't worry if you don't capture everything. I just want to make sure that we have a few minutes at the end for specific Q&A. Okay. So when you're working alone or as part of a small team, tasks big and small mount up fast. You start the week with a manageable laundry list of to-dos and priority projects, and then suddenly they're overtaken by one-off requests, delays, and sudden changes of plans. It happens to all of us. And when you're a nonprofiteer or you're just part of a small team, there's often no one else available to help you tackle your growing list of to-dos. And let's face it, your colleagues are just as busy as you are. So I'll tell you up front, the robots aren't going to save you, but small tweaks to your processes, simple automations, and some basic tools can help you shrink the number of small things taking the biggest bites out of your day. Some of these need a little upfront time on your part to set up, but they're great because most won't require someone else's permission to use. They won't require purchasing. Some of them will, but they're cheap, or installation. And over time, they can help save you buckets of time. So the first thing we need to do is identify the things that are taking up your time. Because if you don't know where your time is going, how you're actually spending your time, you won't know where to start to address the issue. Workflow automations tend to work best on tasks that are rote and repetitive. And they're often so simple that when you set them up, you don't think they're going to save you much time at all. But the goal here isn't to automate yourself out of a job. It's probably not possible, could be, but it's probably not. It's really to help you get a better handle on your day. When you spend less time doing rote tasks, you can focus your time on deep work and the items that give you and your organization the most bang for your buck, the things they hired you to do, the things that you are expert at. So to track my time, I use a tool called Toggl, pictured here. Toggl integrates with many of the tools we already use, like web browser or calendar. So when you start doing a task, you start the timer, tell Toggl what it is that you're working on, and then stop the timer when you're done. You want to do this for at least a full work week to see how you're spending your time. And I'm talking individual tasks, not when you start your work day, when you start your email check-in, when you start that meeting, what have you. You can always just set a stopwatch. You can use a regular kitchen timer if you prefer. The tool and the technology aren't important. Tracking and understanding your time is. So you can make sure that whatever tool you're using, you're easily determining which activities you're actually spending your time on. Once you've reviewed how much time you're spending in your day, checking and responding to emails, in meetings, on specific tasks, you'll start to notice some patterns and trends. So while we each spend our time differently, a few everyday items tend to bubble up to the surface. Perhaps you'll resonate with some of these. Email, calendaring, and general file or data management. Unfortunately, these types of activities are deceptively time consuming. They steal way more time from our days than we often realize. And as you start adding up all of those minutes spent sending email, scheduling meetings, or managing your shared files, you begin to see seconds turn to minutes, turn to hours over time. So let's go through some simple ways you can help cull the small tasks from your day, the things that end up taking up more time and mental space than they should. And while we only cover a few examples here, because we don't have a ton of time, some of the tools and the steps that I'll go over are foundational. So you can use them to make other shortcuts for things that are more relevant to your life and to your work. So let's get into it. Let's start with email. Email takes a lot of abuse. And to be fair to email, we use it for everything. And as a result, it has become bloated and slow. Want to download that white paper? Enter your email address. Signing up for an event? Enter your email address. Just want to access Wi-Fi at the local coffee shop? Email, please. And all those signups have left us with a fire hose of unread messages that taunt us every time we unlock our phones. But all of that aside, email is still one of the most effective communications and organizational tools in your arsenal. And with a few tweaks, you can make sure your inbox works for you. So the first thing you can do is the simplest. Take advantage of your email filters and labels. It's an easy, out-of-the-box way to organize your inbox. It requires little to no technical skill or additional tools. Suppose you're using Gmail, Google Workspace, or Outlook. In that case, you have some standard options to change how your inbox appears, automatically sorting things like promotions or receipts into separate inboxes from important emails from coworkers or family members. But you can go one step further by setting up new labels or additional folders and then create rules that sort your emails automatically into them. For example, I use Google Workspace, formerly G Suite, so I have filters and rules set up that automatically tag emails from each of my clients, one that sorts receipts and shipping confirmations, and more. The different tag colors and folders let my brain quickly scan my inbox for things I need to respond to, or if I can just identify the things that I can file or archive away. Labels are also important if you're using tools like Zapier, which automatically runs workflows across different apps, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. For me, when a receipt hits my inbox, Google tags it automatically, which then triggers a zap, which is what a Zapier automation is called, to save that email to a receipts for processing folder. Then I go through, which is what I go through every Friday when I handle my accounting tasks. So everything is saved in one place. And I have similar zaps set up for tickets, other important documents, to always have them saved and ready to attach to calendar events and tasks in specific folders. Keeping these types of emails and files locked in my inbox with newsletters, promotions, other work-related emails, it's not helpful. The next action I need to take is out of my inbox. So I want to get them out of my inbox. The process significantly shrinks my email inbox and allows me to archive messages quickly and easily retrieve them later without having to search my entire email history. Instead, I just have to search the relevant tag or the relevant folder. And using the system in conjunction with a to-do list app is how I've routinely kept all of my email inboxes, personal and professional, to 5 or so emails, total emails, at any given time. I often head into evenings and weekends with 0 messages left in my inbox, thanks to this approach. Hopefully you can too. The next thing you can do is take advantage of templates. I often find myself writing similar emails over and over again, from introductions to scheduling meetings to responding to questions. I used to write and rewrite these every single time, thinking that it was paramount that each message be personalized from start to finish. But once I started looking in my sent folder for previous emails to copy and paste bits of emails, bits of copy and information, I realized that there are certain parts of these replies and emails that could just be templatized to my email account. So when I need to send an email with routine content, I can jump to the 3-dot menu and choose from several templates that I've saved. Once it pre-populates the box with what I need, I'm then free to customize the rest of the message as I need to without having to take the few extra minutes rewriting something I might have sent a dozen times before. And templates can also be helpful for other types of communications. Say, for example, you're leading a fundraising team. You can use a template to help make writing your appeals easier. You don't need to have the copy explicitly written out. You just need to provide the framework. So for example, in the first paragraph, use 2 sentences to frame the issue. In the last sentence, in bold, invite the recipient to join us in solving the problem. In the following 2 paragraphs, include X content type and then position your second ask, etc. Providing that type of template to your copywriters makes writing that much easier, especially if the person is new to your organization or is a consultant that you've hired to help. You'll spend less of your time reviewing and evaluating versions, making corrections and changes, and they'll spend less time reacting to your changes and then rewriting them to your liking. And while you're creating your templates, also consider your formatting to take advantage of visual cues. Another low-tech trick that makes your email shorter and more readable. It reduces the amount of time you have to spend chasing down replies. For example, when you're sending an email, we all know that when you put somebody in the to field, that person or people are expected to digest and act on some piece of your email, maybe even reply. The people on the CC line are there as just an FYI. Sometimes people who respond, who need to respond don't, and other times people who don't need to respond do, which can make getting work done over an email exchange more time consuming. So to make sure that everyone's on the same page in terms of what you're asking from each of them, use bullets for each action item, italicize or underline the question or action, and bold the name of the person responsible for the response. Be explicit, even if you need to say, Brad, please respond to confirm that you've read this message. This makes your email easier to scan for people who are also struggling with inbox overload. It also has the added effect of keeping everyone focused on what you need from them, so you spend less time following up. And I'd add certain email clients, I think Outlook does this, they also scan your email to look for those options. And then they suggest to people, hey, this email has something that I think you need to respond to, and it resurfaces for them. So being explicit and emphasizing what your ask is can really help your emails get a response without you spending a lot of time following up. Now, if you're a frequent mobile user, you can also use your device keyboard's text replacement feature to autocomplete common words, links, phone numbers, or other content. So whether you're using an Android device or an iOS device, you just need to open your device settings and search for your dictionary. Once you're there, you can enter in a character or a string of characters that will expand into something else. You've probably already seen this before on your phone when you start typing, and then all of a sudden on your keyboard, it tries to autocomplete your email. So you can see in the above example, I have shortcuts for my email address, just in case. I can just type JB or JCB at, and it'll autocomplete. And then I have a basic one for a link to my calendar scheduler. So when I type in an exclamation mark and then the word meet, my keyboard automatically suggests replacing that text with a calendar URL instead. And we'll talk more about quick scheduling shortly. But it's an easy way for me to not have to remember that long URL when I'm trying to schedule a meeting and I'm not at my computer. So lastly, on the templates front, I want to also emphasize the importance of your email signature. Every personal or professional signature tends to include some of the same types of information, some creative, some inspirational, but your email signature is also an opportunity to provide your recipients with some helpful information. First, most modern mobile and computer operating systems scan email signatures to save relevant information to your contact card. If you have an iPhone, you've likely seen this as a Siri suggestion. And if you're a Google user, you'll notice these in the Suggestions tab of Google Contacts. This makes saving important information much more accessible and an excellent opportunity to help your contacts keep your info up to date in their address book. So you want to be intentional with your formatting and the information that you include in your email signature. For example, avoid using images with information printed on them, aside from your organization's logo. And you'll want to swap out less used information, like a fax number, for more impactful calls to action, like a newsletter sign-up URL. Unless, of course, faxing information is still important to your organization, which it might be, then you want to leave that in there. The point is, use your email signature to only convey useful, actionable information. Next, and potentially most important, get your work out of your inbox. As I mentioned before, email takes a lot of abuse because we ask it to do so much more than it was designed for. So one of the best ways to save your inbox and your sanity is by getting your work out of it. If the email is a task, it leaves my inbox for my to-do list immediately because my email inbox is not a task manager. I use Todoist, but you can use a whole host of other services to do the same thing, like Google Tasks or Microsoft To Do, which are built right into their respective email clients. Whatever solution you use, let it help you make your inbox actionable so that you're not constantly searching through it for missed documents, tasks, or updates. If you're not much on setting up a task manager, which is fine, another way to do this, especially when working with others, is by using shared documents like Google Docs or Office 365. For me, onboarding new clients often requires very similar setup procedures. If I were to email that to every client, it would be a very lengthy and confusing instructional email. When clients receive that type of email with links, bullet points, tasks, they often add other people to the CC who can then act on portions of that onboarding process. And as you can imagine, these conversations quickly shift into many, many different directions, especially if someone on the chain has no context for why they're being asked to do something. As more email builds up, things get lost in the shuffle. So to avoid confusion and keep the process organized, I created a template that I can edit with precise details and then customize and share. The client has all the information they need right in front of them and can freely add anyone to the document that they need, assigning tasks right there, addressing questions or comments while everyone works at their own speed. Nobody gets barraged by emails or Slack messages or loses track of what's left to do or why it's being done. And this process really takes a bite out of the time required to get projects set up and off on the right foot. And using an editable template saves me from constantly rewriting the same items or finding the right links over and over again. I've also gone one step further by creating a Zap on Zapier that creates a client folder and documents once the client's project becomes active in our CRM. Again, another time saver and gets me out of my inbox so I can focus on doing the work. So I use Google Docs. It's also easily done in Office 365 or another shared document service. Or if you just want to share information but not make it collaborative, you can create a shareable PDF that you store online and then share with partners with information that's kind of an FYI or something that they might need for their records. And the benefit of this is you don't have to email it as an attachment. So they can go to a link to find it and you can update it over time without worrying that they're using a previous version of it. So we're tangentially on the subject of writing. As a communications or fundraising professional, you write and edit a lot. I know I do. From work emails, newsletters, ads, blog posts, and social media, I spill a lot of digital ink. And if you use a lot of words in your work, Grammarly is one of the tools that I cannot recommend enough. You've probably seen ads for it. Grammarly takes your basic spell checker to the next level. Instead of looking for simple spelling or punctuation mistakes, Grammarly looks at syntax and word choice and can even make suggestions or entire sentences for clarity or tone. Once, it even helped me spot a plagiarized article that was submitted to a client from a third party. It can't do the writing for you, but it can save you a lot of time on editing. I find it incredibly useful in providing the first pass on blog posts, looking for punctuation and spelling mistakes, or capitalization and formatting inconsistencies. That latter being incredibly important if you're trying to be the keeper of your brand and you want to make sure that names and things like that are always consistently formatted. Since it's an add-on to Google and Microsoft products, I can use it when I'm writing and editing in any service, and I can use it to double check tweets and Facebook posts or ads before I click to send. This saves me a lot of time each week, not to mention how much it helps protect me from any writing-related mishaps. There are both paid and free versions available, so I highly recommend you check out the free version. And if you want to upgrade, you can ask Grammarly about a nonprofit discount. I think they offer one. So one of the other biggest time sucks is scheduling your meetings. Emails back and forth, trying to land times or move things around, waiting for people to respond to changing calendars takes way more time than it should. So tools like X.AI, Doodle, Calendly, and others are here to handle the scheduling for you. When someone wants to schedule a meeting, they simply visit a calendar link to book a time. Once they select a time from your meeting page, a calendar invite is sent, and everyone gets the relevant details automatically in their calendar. Because these tools can connect with multiple calendars, like your work calendar and your personal, it can take all the appointment info into consideration while it's doing the scheduling. Plus, if someone needs to reschedule, there's a reschedule link that allows them to reinitiate the process without asking you first. So I use X.AI, and that for me often means scheduling meetings are at most one email, sometimes no emails, because my clients will save the link and they'll just book directly when they want to grab some time. And so hearkening back to a previous slide too, your email signature is the perfect place to add a schedule a meeting with me link. So if anyone wants to schedule time with you after an email exchange, or because the link ended up saved to your contact card in their address book, they know exactly where to go without having to ask. Finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, I mentioned these tools before, particularly Zapier. When you can't get your current suite of software to do everything you want, that's where tools like if this, then that, and Zapier come in. IFT and Zapier connect all of your different apps and services so that they can function together in new ways. Sometimes these combinations are simple, like when someone completes a form, add them to a particular spreadsheet. When someone submits a comment to a post, send me a push notification. Or if you're using Facebook lead generation ads, which is one I use quite a bit, automatically download the leads to a spreadsheet for importing into various email clients or other ad platforms like Twitter. Other combinations can be far more complex. So for example, the Zap I mentioned earlier that automatically creates a new folder in Drive when a project changes stages in my CRM. It also generates a new client record in my accounting software, one in my time management software, one in my task management software, and then puts all the corresponding documents in the right places for me. And because both services frequently add new apps and software partners, the combinations of things you can do are nearly limitless. And the best part is that on both services, you don't need any real technical expertise. The setup is very straightforward. And B, there are hundreds of pre-made, if not thousands of pre-made combinations of things you can do once you pick the services that you want to connect. And this makes setup fast and easy, even if you're new to it. All of these examples and those listed here can save you quite a bit of time over the long run. Plus, both platforms have free versions that offer a pretty robust service and an affordable premium tier if you need something more. However, if you're deciding between the two of them, Zapier is friendlier with enterprise or work-related software, while IFT has a lot of consumer-centric integrations. So I'd start with Zapier if you think you'd like to set up some workflow automations with any of your work tools, and IFT if you want something like, when I leave the house, make sure my lights are off, things like that. And since we're coming up on time, I wanted to also share with you a few other tools you can use. If you're an Apple fan, I created a how-to guide on generating an iOS and soon macOS shortcut that can batch resize photos for use on your website or in your email campaigns. And if you just need something platform agnostic and free, I always recommend Squish, which the link is there. It squishes your photos. For those of you in a lot of meetings, online and otherwise, check out Otter. Otter is an AI note-taking app, which can help free up your time in meetings from note-taking. Simple. And then there are 3 links to the tools we talked about earlier. Todoist, a fantastic task manager, Grammarly for editing, and Zapier for making workflow automations. And again, I'll make my slides available so that you can have these links after the Q&A. And with that, questions?
Awesome. Thanks, Jereme. So much great tips in such a short amount of time. So thank you for covering all of that. I will definitely be implementing a few of those myself. Very practical, very helpful, perfect for the busy fundraising professional or nonprofit marketing professional that is on a time crunch. So we have some great questions coming in right now. So Helen asked, do you have any recommendations for timesheet management?
Timesheet management for like hourly workers, you mean?
Helen, I'm not sure. That might be the case.
Oh, sure, and salary. I mean, it really depends on your needs. I don't want to venture a recommendation. I've used a couple in the past with mixed results. So your mileage may vary, but there are a bunch of services out there. If you're looking for something that is a bit more robust, Harvest is really popular and can help with both your task management and tracking time against projects. And then there's like a management of staff or team there as well. I believe Toggle has just created a new tool for that as well. But this is really not my forte on the timesheet management.
We have a question. Do you have any suggestions for social media time saving for messages and comments?
Yeah, that's a big one. That's always a big question. Unfortunately, there are always going to be a lot of manual things you have to do there. The good thing is, so one way I've done it in the past is I've actually used IFT for this because this one's usually pretty simple, but you can use Zapier to get a little bit more advanced. Create an automation that when somebody reacts to a hashtag, let's say, it automatically populates that person's information and comment into a spreadsheet so you can have them all together. So for example, I've used that to run in campaigns. We want to track a hashtag. And I've also used it when I was building the social media presence of a smaller organization to grab anybody who had mentioned the handle. So at the end of the week on Follow Friday, I could tag each of those people and thank them for retweeting us or liking our comments. And then we saw huge growth in the Twitter accounts following.
Oh, cool. That's great. That's a great tip. Jojo asks, what's the best tool for managing a project for teams?
Oh, best really depends on your team. I am a big fan of Asana. I'm also a big fan of Trello. I do use Todoist, which is a great task manager. It can be a project manager if you don't have really robust projects with a lot of dependencies and things like that. But the best tool for managing projects for teams really is going to depend on 2 things: your team and their comfort level of using a project management tool, as well as your work culture and how you manage those things, and the type of project. If it is really, really involved, you'll want something that's more like an Asana or a Trello than you would like a Todoist.
Yeah, I think we use Basecamp too on our end, so that's a good one. Cool. Thanks so much, Jereme. Tiffany asked if you would put back the slide, maybe a slide or two, I think, with all those links. I don't know if people want to.
The tools slide?
Yeah, take a
Absolutely
screenshot.
Not. I will also share these slides, so you will get these.
But yeah, just for anyone here right now that wants to take a quick screenshot and then go back later. And then I know we're kind of up on time, but Tina asked, any recommendations for photo archive management?
Again, this depends on the level of need. So there are tools called DAMs, digital asset management tools. They run the gamut, and they can be extremely pricey. But if you're an organization that works with a ton of photos and videos, it's probably worth the investment into a proper DAM. Otherwise, if you're using G Suite or Microsoft, or you even have like a Pinterest account, you can kind of hack those into photo management software. But you do have to be more mindful of managing them, right? So you want to keep like the top 50 photos and keep them curated, and use maybe a spreadsheet to always link back to where they're used or how they should be used, or rights usage. I first would recommend looking for a DAM, though, digital asset manager.
Cool. I'll have to take a look at that. And then Valerie said we need a simple org shared calendar that will work for in-app form, both for iPhone and Android user volunteers and staff. A lot of the calendar apps like Calendly, I know do let you have shared ones, but Jereme, I don't know if you have any more thoughts on that.
I mean, it depends. If I'm misunderstanding the question, the first thing I would say is usually even just using a Google Calendar, you can actually publish those. So if you do want to make something available, you can publish a Google Calendar link and let people subscribe to it. You can share them, obviously, with different editing rights with people. The same with Outlook. Otherwise, it really depends on kind of what you're looking for calendar sharing wise.
Awesome. All right, Jereme, thank you so much for such a great, short, tactical session, all about really saving time with all these automation tools. So such great tools. I encourage everyone to check them out. And I really encourage everyone to get in touch with Jereme. You can email hello@gooddogstrategies.com and take a look at all of their resources. And Jereme, I don't know if you have anything else to share about Good Dog in front of everybody.
Nope. Thank you very much, everybody.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Jereme, for being here. Appreciate it.